Hey Year 6, this is Mr. Mike. Today we're going to be looking at the Jabberwocky text. I'm going to walk you through what the author is doing in this text, and then at the end we'll have a look at the table that you guys filled in last week, and I'll show you what you should have found. Hopefully your table will match mine. There might be some differences, but don't worry too much. Okay, before we read this text, there are a number of tricky words in this one. I've listed them at the bottom here for you to have a look at. You can see that corpulent is another word that can mean very big. Permeated, now that we often use to mean that something goes through something, and in this text we're talking about a sound that fills the surroundings. Frantically is another word that just means to be a bit crazy, a bit wild. Coarse means to be very rough, and sinewy describes the muscular build of this beast. Okay, I'm going to read through the text and then we'll quickly sort of highlight different parts of it. Here we go. A mighty stomp of gigantic feet shattered the silence as the beast came pounding out of the fog and into the darkened forest. Fire eyes glared out at its surroundings. Higher than any human, the corpulent figure flattened the twisted, towering trees with every awkward movement it made. Its scaly, wrinkled snout sniffed the air, and a strange rumble echoed so loud that it permeated the surroundings. Hugging the shadowy creature like a suit of armour were curved, spiked wings, which on occasions flapped frantically in the hope of scaring off even the bravest soul. Shoulders hunched, clawed feet dragging, it shuffled deeper into the murky shadows of the forest. It had no softness, no kindness, no mercy and no sense. Dark and green, its thick, coarse skin rippled against its sinewy muscles, and across its scale-covered body lay a jagged scar. Spikes as sharp as spears were positioned along its back and tail, a tail so long and heavy it could easily crush a human. Blood-stained teeth lay in his gaping mouth, revealing canines that glistened like a row of swords in the moonlight. One thought, and one thought alone, filled the tiny mind of this dreadful monster. Find him. Find him. Got to defeat the knight. This monster was the Jabberwocky. Okay, so let's start taking apart this Jabberwocky. We have at the beginning a mighty stomp, which clearly is a description of his his movement, and followed up by gigantic feet, which is his physical description. Just checking my colours here, guys. You can see I've already mixed up my colours, but never mind. There we go. Mighty stomp is his movement. Gigantic feet are his physical features. Now they shatter the silence as the beast came pounding. There we go. We have more movement there. Out of the fog and into the darkened forest. Fire eyes glared. Now technically glared is a verb, but we're going to focus just on his physical description here of the fire eyes. Higher than any human, and that's making a comparison there of his size, so we're going to call that a physical description. The corpulent figure, again, we're being physical here, flattened the twisted and towering trees with every awkward movement. Now, thankfully there we have this word movement, so that clearly indicates movement, but that word flattened is also being used as a verb. Its scaly, wrinkled snout, some nice physical description there, sniffed the air, and a strange rumble echoed so loud it permeated the surroundings. Hugging the shadowy creature like a suit of armour were curved, spiked wings. Now we have physical description there, which on occasions flapped frantically. That would be a movement, which would be blue. In the hope of scaring off even the bravest soul. Now when I thought about that, I decided that was a personality description there. If you're hoping to scare people, that's not a physical description, it's not a movement, but it does give you an indication of what kind of a beast this creature is. Okay, let's continue into the second paragraph. Shoulders hunched, we have physical descriptions. Clawed feet dragging, it shuffled deeper into the murky forest. Now there we have some movement. It had no softness, no kindness, no mercy, and no sense. So here we have personality traits. This is not a creature, he's not clever, he is not kind. Dark and green, its thick coarse skin rippled against its sinewy muscles. So we have some more physical description. He's clearly quite fit. And across its scale-covered body lay a jagged scar. Now that's interesting. That jagged scar, it's physical, but it's also a little bit personality-wise. As a reader, I'm wondering where that scar came from, and I'm assuming it's going to be tied to this knight mentioned. Let's have a look. Spikes as sharp as spears were positioned along its back tail. Some more physical description. A tail so long and heavy. Now that technically is physical, but I like this bit. It could easily crush a human. Now I'm going to highlight this again as personality, because I feel that this links. We talked often about themes. We've got the hope of scaring off a brave soul, and here we've got the hope here that he could easily crush a human. So I'm going to tie those as green. Blood-stained teeth lay in his gaping mouth, revealing canines that glistened like a row of swords. Now that's a physical. One thought and one thought alone filled the tiny mind of the dreadful creature. Okay, and that is going back to his personality. He's clearly obsessed with this knight. His tiny mind suggests that he's really not very clever. He's just got this one thing that fills his mind. So that is my deconstruction of the Jabberwocky text. Your table ought to look a little bit like this. So have a look at what you guys did, and you can reference this later on.